Welcome back. For this panel discussion, we're focusing on the topic developing a sustainable strategic framework for leadership education.
She said something about mindset. I would change that to patriotism, to civic education. You will find a lot of linkages between the values of the students and their performance. The point is not that, and I'm speaking with respect to Nigeria per se, the point is not that these people are unable to learn because of sheer circumstances. It is that the overall mindset of the country is that if there are other means of making it, whether you get skills from school or not, that is what is diminishing this view of getting solid education by participation. So it is important for people to see that the values they have is important for themselves and the country as a whole. For them to develop a team spirit right from the classrooms, that their own values will impact on the country. I'll tell you a little story I read somewhere. A former president of the United States, Kennedy, had gone to NASA and he had seen a janitor. And he went up to the janitor and said, "What do you do here?" And the janitor says, "I'm here to put a man on the moon, Mr. President." That is a team spirit. That is pride in your work. We don't have any more pride in our work here because that work ethic has been killed by this sense that you can make money the easy way. We are our own worst enemies. We have to start civic education in the schools, and we have to teach the people pride and values. The absence of values is what is killing the students.
Okay, if you talk about values, I think we're leaving something out here. The homes, that's where it all starts. Before the child, has contact with other children or the formal education system. What about what we are doing in our homes?
Well, yes. I mean, it goes all the way to the homes. It goes all the way to socialization. It goes all the way to the churches and the mosques. It goes everywhere. Every hand should be on deck to reverse the value that is now operative in this country. The value of money, the value of get rich quickly. That has substituted for the real value of hard work. Hard work has been replaced. Self-respect and esteem do no longer flow from hard work. It comes from what you own, from what you consume. It comes from conspicuous consumption. It all goes back to that. So that the people must now learn the real value of hard work. Like that janitor. He was proud. He was putting himself at the level of engineers, even though his job is to sweep the floor. He was now a team that is going to put a man in the moon. He's not seeing himself as somebody who is just cleaning the floor. This is the kind of spirit that is lacking in this country. I don't know very much about many other countries in Africa, but I know that this country has taken too much pride in things that do not count.
Okay. Fred, let's come. Okay, Fred, let's come to you. Still on strategic framework for leadership education. Well, you have had a good experience, and it's comforting to listen to your experience and know that there is still hope, and you still respond to leadership training. But still talking about specifics, how we can inculcate that into, let's look at the Nigerian situation, into our own education system. Ways you think that we can do it that will work for us, getting our policy leaders, policy makers to listen, and perhaps public-private partnership. Do we need more? How do we begin to groom more Freds, Swanikers, as it were, to bring them into the system and see how we can add that to what we're also doing?
I think firstly, at the highest level in the country, it needs to be seen as a priority. It needs to be seen as the single most important thing that needs to be done, and then to bring together the different arms of the government and society and civil society and business and all that.
Is that all we've got? Advocacy?
Sorry?
Advocacy is all we've got. We can only keep talking and talking for them to listen, policymakers.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, we need to, we're trying to solve the problem of leadership, but that problem needs leadership to solve it. So the leaders in the country need to actually act and say, we need to make this a priority, and we're going to put in place the policies and the procedures and so forth to actually, develop the next generation of this. And unless the leaders today make that step, it's never going to happen. So, as we go down into the education systems, if you don't change the way in which the curriculum is designed and the way in which you attract talent into teaching and the incentives you give to, as the professor was mentioning, to universities and so forth, we're not going to actually see the change. Well, firstly, I think it's about changing the curriculum, and so thinking about moving away from content, as Mr. Adefisa was saying, to skills. I mean, what are the skills that leaders need? You need to solve problems. You need to know how to collaborate in teams. You need to know how to communicate. You need to inspire other people. You need to think entrepreneurially and so forth. So how do you structure your education system such that it's focusing on giving people those skills versus just the knowledge? And today, I think we do the other way around. We focus on giving just knowledge and hope people get those skills as a byproduct.
And now, in terms of setting the ball rolling, we've talked a lot about policymakers. Let's be specific. Let's name names. Who do we go to? Where does it start? Is it the Ministry of Education? And should we do like local government level, state level? Where should it start?
Remember what Mr. Swanika said about it being a team effort.
Yes.
We do need people to lead and drive the process, so maybe the political leadership. But I think this is something that we've got to drill down to every level, even to the home, so that you have parents involved, you have PTAs, you have school organizations, you have government itself, ministries of education across all the states and I think all the tiers of government. And I think maybe if people will say we already have a curriculum. So I think it's how do we get people to start to think differently and to know that going forward, we really have to think differently. So I was looking at the skills. Maybe we should start with such a group that talks about the skills. Remember, there are certain skills like critical thinking, problem solving, all these things, digital literacy and values. The values, I share Prof's feelings as a Nigerian, but I'm trying very hard not to give up and not to allow the pain to just let me not think differently, but the values, character building, and so on. So I think if we're able to at least articulate what we want by this kind of organization and try and expand it so that as many people as possible join in the conversations. What worries me is that you don't see these conversations in the newspapers. We don't hear these conversations, enough of them, on radio, on TV programs. I think we've just got to get this thing out in the public. People start talking about it. People know, it's just that they can't articulate because maybe they don't know the technicalities. They won't say buzzwords like curriculum, pedagogy, and so on. But they know that, and they know that their children deserve a lot more than they're getting. So I think if we try and find a way to get the conversation out in the open, I think, and drive the process, and even get government to start thinking different, because sometimes, a lot of the times, if you're able to show them actual practice, I think it works. If you're able to show them where this has worked. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we tend to say, no, this is Nigeria, the economic laws don't apply to Nigeria, and so on, but it's not true. So we've got to find even centers of excellence within Nigeria where these things have been shown to work, and they do exist.
Okay, we have about 2-3 minutes left. Let me have a final word from the rest of the panelists. Professor.
Okay. Well, my final word would be on this issue of leadership. As we know, 3 things have been said about leadership, not just on this stage, but over time. One is that we need strong institutions. The other one is that we need strong leaders. And the other one, well, we need leaders, good quality leadership. And it's for this reason that some people say that we should have leadership taught in schools. I would say that the problem we have is not just weak institutions and lack of leaders, The problem we have is also followership. So the third one is followership among those three. And I think that only good followership can bring good leadership. So that it is important that in the schools, we also teach them how to be good followers. Because leadership is not an easy thing, you know. And this is not making excuses for the leaders, but a friend of mine who has friends among ministers told me once that a minister friend of his told him that the problem with Nigeria is the problem of leadership. Go figure that. A minister. He is the leader. And so that problem does exist. Okay. So that we do need to tell our people how to be good followers. And we have seen examples of good followers in Egypt recently, where the people march on the street and say this will not happen. And we tend to have a population that doesn't pay attention to followership and always have the leaders to blame.
Okay, Professor, thank you. We're going to Fred, let's find a word from you.
Yeah, I'll just say that for me, it's very important that as we discuss this whole issue of leadership, that we don't focus only on the issue of political leadership, right? We need to be thinking about how to develop leaders in all different spheres of society. You know, people who are going to be leaders in science, who are going to come up with, you know, innovative solutions to the challenge we have in healthcare. Leaders in agriculture, who are going to make sure that we can grow enough food to feed ourselves. Leaders in business, who are going to create the businesses that are going to create the jobs. Entrepreneurs that we need. And yes, those in government, those in the arts, in journalism, and so forth. So that we're taking a holistic view to how we develop people. And the way I think of a leader is someone who creates positive change in whatever environment that they're in. And so how do we think about creating people who are, see themselves as agents who can really create the future and are not just waiting for someone else to do things for us?
But are you optimistic that we can get it right? Are you optimistic that we...
Absolutely. I'm seeing it every day on my campus.
Okay. Professor Kakane.
As told by Professor, one is leadership is a process. We need to have both large number of formal and informal leaders to behave be part of a group and then move one part. Second, leadership should involve automatically a large amount of reflection. Both reflection, as ma'am was saying, that is talking, having conversations around that, picking up the topic, and also reflections of the self, second. Third, I think also leadership, we need to find out ways and means of building the social capital, in some sense, creating that social capital and social momentum to ensure that we move to the next level of critical mass wherein growth is automatic, that is, people don't see it as a hindrance or lack of confidence, but the other way around.
Okay, thank you, Professor. We've exhausted our 45 minutes. I think key takeaways have been, you know, where to start. We need to look back at our curriculum, as you pointed out, Flashadi, look at our curriculum, rejig it, a reorientation of values, focusing more, at least paying some attention to the issue of followership, Professor Undiwe, as you pointed out. We have been focusing on the topic, developing a sustainable strategic framework for leadership education. We'll take a break now and return shortly.